Buy now, pay later is a key financing method for those living paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, because it's a way for them to use credit without actually having to get approved for it. Afterpay, Affirm, Klarna, shout out to them. Buy now, pay later services have gained popularity, allowing customers to split their purchases into monthly payments for more affordability and easier budgeting. I thought they weren't budgeting. So are they budgeting or they're not budgeting? Let's be clear. Don't budget debt into your budget. Is that I use that? Don't budget debt. Don't put debt into your budget. Right? Let me see how I can add this debt into my budget. Don't do that. Okay. How often do those living paycheck to paycheck use buy now, pay later? Always 11%, 39% often, 28% sometimes, 5% rarely, 17% never. I like to see that almost 20% never use it per the survey, but you're looking at over 60% or over 70% are saying sometimes, often, or always. 78%. Yep. Moreover, an astonishing 46% revealed they depend on buy now, pay later to sustain their life. Okay, we'll talk about that earlier. Among the most frequent purchases categories were non-essential shopping. Okay, travel, we talked about that as well. Okay, here we go. Holiday spending. This was a December article, holiday article. For those living paycheck to paycheck. See, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't, I'm saying you don't, but you should not do holiday spending, birthdays, all that type of stuff. You live in paycheck to paycheck. If you can barely pay for the necessities, you got to cut somewhere. And it's usually going to be on the wants. I mean, that's how it makes sense. But usually people, they cut back on their needs so they can pay for their wants. This year, under half, 47% of individuals living paycheck to paycheck expect to maintain their holiday spending as last year's levels. My goodness. Despite financial stress, 30% will increase their holiday spending. Oh, my God. 18% will spend less. Okay. If you decline to disclose. They didn't want to say how much they're going to spend on the holiday. 30% of Americans living paycheck to paycheck. Okay. Spending more. All right. Paying off debt while living paycheck to paycheck. Good God. As noted above, the expected timeline for paying off debts incurred in 2003 isn't immediate. More than half of respondents living paycheck to paycheck, 51%, will need several months or years to pay off their bills, and 31% will need at least a full year. Is student loans included in that? Anticipated timeline for settling in 2023 debt balances. Less than 3 months is 6%. 50% is 3 months to a year. Then 30% is 1 year or more. Look, if you can get out of your debt, if half people say they can get out of their debt in less than a year, lock in and knock that out. If you have debt to pay down, there are several credit card payoff strategies that can help. Of these credit card consolidation, wouldn't recommend. Just pay off your debt. Do the snowball method. Smallest balance, the largest balance. As far as what you owe with all your debts, make the minimum payments on everything. They put everything extra, cut out your lifestyle, and pay it off. Here's the thing where I get confused. If you want to pay off debt, let's say you want to pay off debt, no other financial strategy. Where you at? No, y'all lucky my Total Money Maker book by Dave Ramsey is behind some other books. I got to redo my books because he's supposed to just be right there. If you want to pay off your debt, Dave Ramsey method is the way to go. Now, if you want to do other stuff, you can argue about other people, other strategies, but the pay off the debt person is Dave Ramsey. End the conversation. I don't even know why people debate this stuff. Shout out to people who knock Dave because it's good for the algorithm. Choosing one of the best balance transfers. We talking about that. Don't do a balance transfer. Don't do any of these things. Just make your minimum payments and aggressively put everything towards your smallest balance so you can aggressively pay that off as fast as possible, and then roll that minimum payment over and whatever extra you're putting towards it onto the next debt and continuously do that. It snowballs, builds, rolls on top of itself and goes towards your other debt. Some people prefer the avalanche method because it saves you the most interest, and that's where you do highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. But the issue with that is momentum. Snowball gives you more momentum than the avalanche method. And on top of that, you have a higher percentage chance of paying off your debt by doing the snowball versus the avalanche. And not to mention, when you look at anecdotal, but each individual's payoff timeline versus avalanche versus a snowball, you're not really saving that much money. Because let's not talk about the interest. Let's talk about like when you're actually going to pay off the debt relative to obviously everybody's total debt and how fast they can pay it off. The timeline is not that much different. And most people's snowball and avalanche follow the same. Most people's lowest balance is on credit cards. And most people's highest interest rate is on credit cards. And then usually car loans, depending on what it is, are lower than and have a higher interest rate than your student loans. And your student loans are usually going to be last. You're usually going to have, depending on what you got when you got it, but the lower interest rate and the highest balance. So a lot of times the snowball and the avalanche method are actually going to be in the same order for most people. Not like some people do, but it's not like people have 10 different debt payments they're making. People got a couple credit cards, as maybe a student loan, then a car loan. They usually shake out in the same order either way. So that's the other thing too. When people argue these two, like, give me a real example instead of just saying a math equation, as if people don't. Well, in America, a lot of people don't know math. Anyways, how good is my math on this on the podcast? Okay, paying down debt is a fantastic first step towards giving yourself financial breathing room. That alone won't help most people stop living paycheck to paycheck. I don't believe that. You do need to increase your income, but it will definitely help you. Survey respondents are taking several approaches to addressing their situation, with reducing expenses being the most common. Yep, but that is one of your expenses, and making a budget. Yeah, and expand your emergency fund. So, okay, baby steps 1, 2, and 3. Get on a budget, pay off your debt, build an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses. Obviously, you need to increase your income if you're living paycheck to paycheck in most cases. Interesting, unless you're there's people making over 200K, but you still probably need to in that situation as well. Interestingly, drastic measures are considered as well. Nearly 35% of respondents would move to more affordable state. A lot of people did that in the panorama. Okay, how do you avoid living paycheck to paycheck? Strategy: 53% are going to reduce expenses. 46% are going to do a budget. 100% need to make a budget. Build an emergency fund. 39%. Boost income. 38%. Here goes my phone for all these damn alerts. There we go. Another one. Sorry, y'all. Boost income is 38%. Move to a more affordable state or country is 34%, and then sell household goods or services is 23%. Or services, household goods, or sell your household services. Sell your household good or assets is 23%. Realistically, some may consider all of these tactics. Okay, yes, you need to assess everything, right? To get out of debt, increase your income, build your cash flow, your margin on a monthly basis. Okay, this is a crucial task, especially if your income is high enough, right, to support a secure lifestyle. Yeah, you got to get on the budget. Tracking your spending in conjunction with the newly made budget can make it obvious if there's excessive spending in any category. Exactly. Necessities, debt payments, investments, lifestyle. That's why I got these 4 major categories. Most people are not living paycheck to paycheck when they just pay for their necessities and their debt payments. When you add in investing, again, Dave Ramsey method, stop that investing, you're paying off your debt and building your emergency fund. And then obviously your lifestyle, that's where a lot of people are actually living paycheck to paycheck. So in short, you're spending all your money, which is why you're living, which is the definition of living paycheck to paycheck. But you don't have to spend all your money, because when we add in the lifestyle, you're good to go. And also too, if you're investing, you should be investing. But if you're at the point where you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're investing, you really have to sit down and see if it makes sense to continue to invest while you have that, while you're living paycheck to paycheck. Because in short, if you never actually give yourself that breathing room, that margin in your budget on a month-to-month, yearly basis, as far as living paycheck to paycheck and getting out of that, a lot of people end up doing what? They end up pulling out of their investments. Most people are investing into their 401k or their retirement plan at work. Let's just call it. It's not like people have retirement, taxable brokerage accounts out here. Most people are putting money into their 401k, 403b, whatever it is, taking their match, et cetera, yada, yada. But if people continue to live paycheck to paycheck, or they're not able to save enough money for house down payment, all these different type of things, they end up pulling out of their retirement. And then you put yourself in a tax situation, possibly. And you don't want to do that. All right.